Salutations. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. V back with another casted game of Age of Empires 3. And today we find ourselves on Pampas for a China versus Dutch showdown. This is a matchup that has changed a lot since these civs first came out. It is not as straightforward as it used to be. But before we get into that, let's talk about our players here. In the north of the map, playing in the color red as the Dutch, we have Klaus 117 going for what looks to be a very standard start. And in the south of the map, playing in the color blue as the Chinese, we have SRXS going for the early trading post, but it's going to be close. Here comes the delivery man. Oh, is he going to get it, ladies and gentlemen? And yes! Gets it with 2 seconds to spare. If you miss that first pass of XP, it is going to significantly decrease the value of the early trading post. So you got to time that out well, and SR did a very nice job of timing that. Now going for what looks to be a 30 food treasure. And these are both fairly high level players. We're talking 1600 level ELO, so not top 100, but certainly still very good. SR sending what looks to be the T export card, so going to get that consulate and the 100 XP to start. Meanwhile, let's take a look at Klaus's deck, and oh my. All right, let's observe the name of this deck. It's called Age to Stay Alive. Sending his 3 villagers, has military reforms, Bank of Amsterdam. He's got Town Militia. Oh, now that is a classic card. I wish this card was more loved than it is. This used to be like a definitive go-to card that almost every Dutch player had in their deck, but now you don't see as many Dutch players using it, which actually leads me into what I wanted to discuss with this matchup. This used to be probably one of the most boring matchups in OG Age of Empires 3 because it was just an Age 3 matchup, and everybody knew that. Everybody knew that China was going to FF. And everyone knew that Dutch was going to do some sort of Cav semi-FF, or they were just going to do some form of an FF, 4-bank FF, 5-bank FF. And it was just kind of bland, right? We knew it was going to be third age, and it was going to be China shipments versus Dutch shipments, as it looks like SR picks up another 40 XP. Meanwhile, what do we got over here? What is Klaus going for? He's going for the 90 wood, ladies and gentlemen, but it is guarded by 2 melee pirates, which are not easy to kite. And, ooh, it looks like he's going to get engaged in melee with both of these guys. Going to take a ton of damage. And meanwhile, in comes SR. The Disciple is the Explorer here. We could have a potential treasure steal, ladies and gentlemen. Klaus is on very low HP. And now the Disciple is joining in. The Pirate is almost down if the Explorer doesn't get here in time. Meanwhile, the Explorer is being chased by wolves. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? And the Dutch player is going to get shoryukened by the Chinese Explorer, whose name I cannot even read, and the 90 wood going to China. What a crazy treasure contention, and you can tell the players are reacting to it quite vehemently, and that's going to be really tough for Klaus, and a really nice pickup for SS, or not SS, SR. Sometimes it's all about just being at the right place at the right time, but now both players are aging up to the second age. Dutch is going to be a little bit ahead. Needs to get some gold for his first vill. I don't think he's going to get his first vill down in time. There's going to be a little bit of TC idle time there. But like I was saying, it used to be a very straightforward matchup, and now it's not, because China in particular has become a much more dynamic civilization. Their Age 2 play has gotten a lot stronger. Now, granted, you know, they've had their time in the sun, and now they've kind of gone back down to not being one of the upper tier civs anymore. But China's still really, really versatile in the moves they can do compared to what they used to be able to do, which was FF every single time. Dutch still pretty limited. I mean, they still have a very, very generic and a very, very predictable play style, but they do have some new cards which throw a couple of wrenches into it. So looks like Klaus is sending 700 wood. Meanwhile, 7 Step Riders are coming out immediately for SR. And he already has another shipment as well, thanks to his trading post. He's got a lot of military shipments in here, guys. I think we're going to see some Age 2 aggression from China. He's got 8 Shuko Nu. He's got 9 Pikemen. He's got Mandarin Duck Squad, which is just a great name. You got the 1 flamethrower plus the castle. I always forget that that's just 1 flamethrower. But out come the 7 Step Riders, and we even have a forward village. We might be seeing a war academy go down to accompany that. Doesn't quite have the wood yet. Meanwhile, what is Dutch doing? Dutch gathering up his 700 wood, and he has got 2 banks down. Possibly going to get a third with the bank wagon. No military buildings just yet. The envoy is dead. Rip. And yeah, Dutch right now is pretty much blind, putting up a wall. Walls equal wins, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't know. The Steppy Riders are still going to be able to get in here. Make sure that Bill doesn't get caught. Oh no! Yeah. Oh no! Klaus! She'll die building the wall. She got her wall done, so she served her purpose, ladies and gentlemen. And is that a tavern? Is that the Dancing Dutchman? What am I looking at, ladies and gentlemen? On a third bank going down, sending 600 wood, not sending his bank wagon. So a little bit of a weird progression here by Klaus. I don't hate it. I don't love this tavern, though. He's got Comancheros in queue, and 8 Chuko Nu are on the way for SR. So this is a very, very, very unorthodox Dutch. I said that Dutch was going to be predictable, and here he goes, proving me wrong. Thank you, Klaus. And 9 Quang pikemen on the way, so the onslaught of Chinese units is not going to stop. Now, China has put on some really nice pressure here, but they've sacrificed eco. They're at only 18 vills at the 6-7 minute mark. And one thing that China's going to have to do is his units have low siege. He's going to have to be very careful about the buildings that he sieges here. He needs to siege down the worthwhile buildings, and I don't think this tavern is one of them. I think he needs to hit these houses. 1, 2, 3, knock them out, take your opponent down by 30 population. Don't waste your time on the banks. They're way too much HP. Save those for later. But now he's going straight for the tavern, gonna make sure that no units come out of there. Again, I think that the houses are a better move, but getting rid of your opponent's military structure, that works too. Meanwhile, it looks like Klaus has sent town militia. So ladies and gentlemen, this has now gotten way scarier for China, because what town militia does is it increases the damage your town center does by a wide margin, about 50%, I think. And then it allows you to train 15 colonial militia. And at 15 colonial militia, there they are. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, conscription, and out come the militia, and the Chinese army is caught with their pants down. And this is why this card can be so effective if timed out right. This Chinese army is going to be obliterated. That is 3 shipments worth of units. And I think SR just being way too aggressive there, sitting under his opponent's town center for far too long. Now, yes, these militia are going to degrade, but for the cost of 800 resources, basically insta-culling 15 quite powerful military units. And it looks like Dutch is going to hold this pressure. Now, I still don't love Dutch's position. He's got no military buildings. He only got 3 banks. His food in base is practically nil, just because there wasn't a lot of early herding, although we do see some here now. But meanwhile, China losing so much investment there because he sent the 7 Step Riders, he sent the 9 pikemen, he sent the Chuko Nu, and all of it being lost to just that 1 pop of colonial militia, which is why never sleep under a European town center, because if you do, that town militia can wreck your day. But man, it is such a good feeling. You call the town militia, they come out, they deal with your opponent's army, and you just feel like a level 99 boss. Meanwhile, SR getting up a second trading post. I will say this, he has seized map control in quite a big way. Now Klaus grabbing his own trading post. And I don't know if either of them are going to fight this out in Age 2, or if they've decided that they're going to take this battle to Age 3. Klaus stocking up a lot of resources, as is SR. And meanwhile, SR, diplomatic intrigue on the way. And I don't know. I think both of these guys are going to go up to Age 3. I think SR, yeah, he lost a lot of units, and that was really bad. But he did get some good damage done. He did take out a building. And he did bell up his opponent's villagers for quite a ways. But with Dutch, when you have those banks working in the background collecting coin, even while your vills are belled up, it can be really, really useful. Still only at 3 banks, which I'm a little bit concerned about, seeing as he's sent all of his wood shipments in the second age. I think he really needs to send that bank wagon. Get that in as soon as possible. and just really improve that coin economy, because 3 bank Dutch in Fortress Age is not really scary. Now, 4 or 5 bank Dutch, that's something that can contend with China, because you have to remember, SR, even though he took that loss, he has so many more units to send. He's got 4 Iron Flails. He's got the Keshiks. He's got Arquebusiers. He's got the Meteor Hammers. Those Keshiks are an interesting card. I don't know if I see them in a lot of decks. He's even got 7 Hand Mortars. So, I mean, SR just so all in with the military shipments. And I guess that Klaus picked the right card by staying alive, but sending a 4 as his first Age 3 card, I don't know if I agree with that, but yeah, that one's tricky for me. I think it's really going to depend on where he places it. Now, if he's going to use it to seize this 2nd and 3rd hunt, then I can see the necessity of that. But I don't know, your Bank Wagon, 1,000 wood, 8 skirm, 9 Reuter, all of those I think would have had a more immediate impact. But out comes the fort, and we'll see what it does. The Chinese army, the 8 arquebus are there, and now we officially have both players in Age 3. The arquebus counter every single thing in this Dutch army, and they're going to be able to take out those Minutemen with 1 shot, since those Minutemen are now at 1 HP. And if I was SR, getting those Minutemen taken out as quickly as possible would be a priority of mine, simply because I don't want them putting down DPS in the next fight. But Vestig Korvorden, or some other name in Dutch that I probably butchered, is now going up. Meanwhile, we have a little bit of a Reuter raid, which sounds nice, but then you remember that Reuters do almost no siege damage, and they don't kill Vils very well. Out come the disciplined Iron Flails, but these Minutemen still actually showing their worth here, putting down a ton of damage before they die. Both Iron Flails are going to go down, although the Arquebus are still going to put down a lot of damage. Meanwhile, SR now knows the presence of this fort, and even some of the hunts are starting to be driven off, which means that the importance of this fort is starting to go down a little bit. Looks like he is researching territorial armies. Meanwhile, Klaus is getting his market upgrades, continuing to make villagers. Really has to get that economy bolstered into the Age 3. I think he really needs a bank wagon. I think he really needs 1,000 wood. But the Chinese ball of shipments has begun to roll, and it's going to be quite a while before this thing loses momentum. More Arquebus coming out, more Meteor Hammers, and just pure Reuter coming out from Klaus so far, although he is starting to produce some skirms, really running out of resources in his base. He's going to be pushed very soon to go search for resources in the middle of the map, which China has done a fairly effective job of locking down. Though I have to admit, China's army is not huge. When we look at villagers, it's 27 to 27, dead even. So with the addition of the banks, Dutch is ahead. But in terms of map control, China is certainly ahead. And he's kind of trying to guard both areas at once. He wants to keep his middle position, but also make sure his villagers are being able to get out on these hunts here. And I think maybe some sort of wall here would be really effective. Take out this trading post and then wall Dutch off this side of the map so that you know which avenue he has to come from. But now we have 5 skirmishers gonna get trapped and gonna get killed easily by those Meteor Hammers while the Reuters are away. Although we do have a really nice raid here. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Villagers have been discovered at this hunt, and there is no village for them to run to. And now the Reuters are at a decent enough mass that they can be a significant threat to these villagers. And look at these villagers go down. Ladies and gentlemen, this might be the raid that breaks the stalemate. I have counted 5 villagers going down so far, and SR not even attempting to save them. I think he just noticed that they were going down, but now he's going to lose all of those villagers. And oh man, I was wrong. There was a village right here. Oh my gosh, that was brutal. So it is now 30 vills to 22. Those are the raids you dream about. Those are the raids that help you sleep at night, but you hardly ever get them like that. But sometimes, sometimes the opponent just is not looking. And I think SR is more focused on this push, which actually looks really scary. 8 skirms coming out. We've got Arquebusier, we've got Redcoats, we've got Keshiks, and we've got a lot of cavalry. But I do want to point out the fort and the town center are going to make it a little bit tough for China to push in here. I think Klaus is going to have to be very effective with his Reuters here. He's got to focus the meteor hammers. He's got to focus the step riders. And the Falconet's still putting down a ton of damage. Redcoats are in the back. He's got to focus on those Redcoats with his skirmishers. He's got to use his counter units. Meanwhile, the fort putting down some decent fire, but it's not doing enough. And SR is continuing to sit under this town center and this fort and take damage. Meanwhile, the regular Minutemen have been called. There are no more town militia coming out, so he has no more emergency units to call on, though he can produce from this fort and this stable and nothing else. Meanwhile, the Chinese army has begun to weaken a little bit. It is running out of anti-cav very, very quickly. More meteor hammers coming out, more Reuters coming out, and both players fighting sort of a separated battle here where I think Dutch really needs to unite his army here, and the Falconet going down to TC fire, so doing all of this fighting under all of this defensive infrastructure has really worn down SR's army, and I think this push is going to fall impotent. I think it's gonna lose its momentum very quickly, although these meteor hammers are, no, iron flails, excuse me, they are doing a nice job. Get those villagers inside the fort, and there are cav running everywhere. Really nice job by XR. He's distracting a lot of these Reuters, and I really like the villager rating, but I think all of the siege potential in this army has been taken away. But now more villagers for the Dutch player going down, and we are now at 27 to 24. Both players being a little bit careless with their villagers, but now out come 9 Reuter, and this might be the thing that seals the deal. The Reuter's actually going to get caught in melee by these cav from the Chinese player, and so the Reuters are just being handled very weirdly. And meanwhile, the Arquebus just getting, oh my gosh, they're just getting lambasted by this fort. More Reuters coming out, and it looks like both players are just kind of investing everything here. And the control has been decent, but certainly could be improved by both players. I think China just fought for far too long under that fort, and now Dutch just, he's got ranged units, but he's throwing them into melee, which is getting them very, very heavily damaged. But now look at this flying crow all by itself is going to get easily massacred by these Reuters. And so another example of perhaps lackluster unit control from both sides. Now, let's monitor what we can see. We do see that China still has a lot of map control. They have basically monopolized the resources, but now that Dutch is investing in Hussars, this is going to be a pretty big tech switch. It's going to make the Dutch army very, very mobile, very, very maneuverable, while the Chinese army, which is still mostly infantry, is going to be very, very tough to, it's going to be tough for them to keep up. And now the Reuters have them pinned. In come the Hussar, but the Changdao swordsmen and the Redcoats will easily take out these H2 Hussar if they are not careful. Reuters getting in the back, gonna try to do some damage on the Changdao, but more Hussar coming in. They do not have the veterancy upgrade, so against these age 3 Chinese units, they're not going to be super effective. These Redcoats will melt these Hussars, as will the Changdao, and even the Iron Flails will do fairly well, seeing as they are upgraded. So we do need to see the veteran upgrade. It is coming in, more skirmishers coming in. He needs light infantry support, or he needs more riders to take out these Redcoats and these Changdao. And once he can do that, that group of Arquebus are there for the taking. But Dutch very, very quickly running out of room. He's on his berries now. He has nobody on actual hunts. And once these coin mines run out, he's going to have to really branch out very, very soon. Oh man, I need a sip of coffee. This is intense. God, this is why I love this game. It's so back and forth. Love Age of Empires 3. Oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry, just had to profess my love there for a second. It looks like Dutch is going to push out onto the middle of the map. His army is quite small. Meanwhile, the Chinese army has grown quite a bit larger, more Arquebus, more Changdao, and there are not enough skirm to deal with this many melee units. And now look at all these Dutch villagers who are searching for somewhere to find food. Meanwhile, intervention is now being shipped from the consulate, meaning more Redcoats are going to be coming out, and no more unit shipments for Dutch except for the 7 skirms, which are more of like they're more of a add-on unit. They're not a unit to swing the fight. But more skirms coming out, and interestingly enough, he has not built another barracks. He's only been producing out of this fort and this one stable. Did get the church down, and has not sent the upgrade card, and has still not sent his bank wagon. I don't know why that's still bothering me. He has 5 banks, He could send Bank of Amsterdam, but I think right now he's more focused on military units, which I do not disagree. The Chinese army, well, actually, now that it has those iron flails, it's looking quite strong. And the Dutch army is just kind of all blobbed up here. Very few Reuters, a handful of Huss, some skirms, and where is he getting 4 falconets from? What in the world? Oh my god, he's building them from his fort. 5 falconets, ladies and gentlemen, 5 falconets have now entered the field, but there's very little anti-cav here, along with this batch of skirmishers, and now here comes the big engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, he is aiming for this middle Chinese stronghold, but he's got to be careful. In come the iron flails. They're going to try to snipe those falconets, but the hussars get in the way just in time, and those 5 falconets will shred through the Chinese infantry, but there is so little anti-cav for Dutch. He's got to take out these war academies and turn off the reinforcement buttons from the Chinese player as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, the arquebus getting lambasted. I love saying that word. And now halberdiers coming out from Dutch. So more anti-cav and more siege potential coming out. Meanwhile, the hand mortars are now making their presence known. He's got to get some hussars out there and try to deal with them. But now he's got enough skirmishers to deal with the redcoats. And he's got these cannons to deal with the arquebus. If he can just get on those hand mortars, 1 falconet has gone down, but 4 still remain in the fight. Meanwhile, more iron flails coming out. Hopefully those halberdiers can keep them at bay for just a little while longer. The hussars are going down, but still a nice batch of skirmishers, and it looks like Klaus is using SR's own buildings and that's the game. Oh my gosh, I was just gonna say, that was a really nice move by Klaus, whether it was intentional or not. He shoved his army into this pocket, and because the units for China were popping out on this side of the building, they had to go around, and they were easily kind of allied and taken out by these halberdiers. And SR just quits. He resigns. He's at 30 villagers against 34 for Klaus. I mean, Klaus does have 4 banks. No, 5 banks, actually. Excuse me. All without sending his bank wagon. But I don't know. Was he finished there? Was the game over? Yeah, it actually might be. He's really running out of military shipments. He just has the Keshiks and the hand mortars. And he's got Manchu, but against skirms, it's not really going to be effective. Yeah, I can see why he gave that up. I don't know. Dutch, I don't know how to feel about this game. I need some time to think about it and see if this was a game where the Dutch player won or if the Chinese player lost. So while I think about it, ladies and gentlemen, follow me to the post game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in the post game, and I've had some time to think about it. And I think the Dutch player held quite well while making some mistakes. And I think the Chinese player put on some really good pressure, but not in the right location. So let's get into it. In the resources tab, we see that Dutch had about a 6,000 resource advantage. I think that's mainly due to the 5 banks, because we see the biggest discrepancy is in the coin, 5,000 to 16,000. And then when we go to military, China did have the lead, 175 to 143, although that's very typical with China simply because they can produce larger numbers of units, but those units are lacking in quality compared to standard European units. And then when we go to the timeline, we actually see a very even villager split for most of the game. China takes a little bit of a lead here, and then they're dead even, and then that huge Reuter raid happens, okay? And then China's at a big deficit, and I thought that's where Dutch was going to take the game. But then when China pushed in to that fort, that's when Dutch lost a ton of villagers. And then it went back to even for pretty much the rest of the game. It was about a 2 or 3 vil difference, so nothing game-breaking. But when you go to the military unit tab, this is where I think the name of the game is. I think China, again, the way he was able to mass up units and push in, I thought that was really good. But he lost so many units against the defensive infrastructure of the Dutch base, the town center, the fort, that I think a lot of his military potential was wasted by just sitting under those buildings. I think if he had tried to pressure resources rather than just tear down buildings, I think he would have been a lot better off. You could definitely see that the Dutch player was starving for a lot of resources, And I think if there had been some sort of push away from the fort, maybe on the other side of the base where the fort wouldn't have been able to do anything, I think that SR would have had a lot more success, because we can see, you know, that first huge drop thanks to the Colonial Militia. And then we see this second huge drop outside the fort. Now, granted, Klaus he's losing a lot of units too, but Klaus is also on defense. He's able to reinforce those units much quicker. And then we see that China takes a really significant advantage. And then that fight with the Falconets, it goes very, very poorly for SR. And then I think after that, he just decides that he's used up all his shipments, his momentum's gone, and he is done, which I don't totally disagree with, though I don't think he was quite out of that game yet. But that is my breakdown. That was a really, really fun game, if not the most high level, but these guys certainly played much better than I can, so I don't want to criticize too much. Hopefully what I've said has been helpful to either player or to you guys that are maybe looking to dive into Dutch or China as a civ. They're both really fun, they're classic, and nowadays they're a lot more versatile than they used to be. But ladies and gentlemen, I will see you guys next week for another series of casted games. Until then, have a great day, have a great life, see you later.